Hello everyone and welcome to Blank First Page. My name is Lucas. The grocery list. A humble but incredibly important list that I would bet is the most listed list of all time. One way or another, we all have some way we keep track of what we need to buy from the grocery store. There's a few ways my grocery lists come together. One way is a slow and steady cumulative list that I build up over the course of a week. And the second is more intentional, sitting down, figuring out what my menu for the week is going to be, and then writing out the ingredients around there. The most common way my grocery lists come together is the first way, in which in random places usually I remember what I need to buy from the grocery store and I take those notes down as they occur to me. And that's one reason I think the pocket notebook method for grocery lists is particularly good, because your pocket notebook is always with you and you therefore are less likely to risk the item being forgotten when you get to the grocery store, because as it occurs to you, you write it down. Typically for me, I remember the things I need to buy from the grocery store on a walk or when I'm sitting on my couch watching a TV show or something, and having my pocket notebook on me as I normally do makes it really easy for me to capture all of those items. The other really important place I make sure I have my notebook with me is when I'm cooking. That's because you're in and out of your pantry and fridge most frequently when you're actually cooking. And so that's when you're most likely to see things that are running low that you need to buy more of, or just that environment of the pantry and the fridge will trigger food-related thoughts which make you think, I don't have this ingredient for that meal I want to make in 2 days' time, and therefore you write it down. So those haphazard remembering points throughout the day, specifically as they relate to grocery items, are just another reason you should be carrying around a pocket notebook and pen at all times. The second way, the more intentional way my grocery list comes together, is when I'm planning out my meals. I don't do this too frequently, but sometimes on a weekend my wife and I will sit down and flip through our cookbooks or look up recipes online, and then one of us will read through the items in the recipes and the other one will go through the pantry and the fridge and call out whether we have something or not. And if we don't have it, it goes on the grocery list. So then our menu gets written down for the week, and next to it the grocery list that is required to make that menu. Now, I don't hate doing the grocery shopping, but I do see it as a chore. It's something I don't want to be spending too much time on when I'm doing the activity. And when I'm in the grocery store, I just want to get through there as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So to help that and maximize my grocery shopping efficiency, what I'll do, especially if I have a long grocery list, is I will rewrite it in the order in which the items appear in my supermarket. 98% of the time I'm going to the exact same supermarket, and therefore I know exactly the layout of that supermarket and the order in which I come across the different food items given my normal route through the market. The one I go to most often is on 2 levels, so it kind of forces you to go through it in a certain way. And the thing I hate most is getting to the end of the supermarket journey, and at the end of my list is an item I've overlooked, and that item is actually at the start of the grocery store. So I have to go all the way back around and do kind of the walkthrough of the grocery store twice. So in order to avoid that, I rewrite the list mentally, picturing which items I'm going to come across in order as I go through the supermarket, so that when I'm then at the supermarket, my list basically becomes a list of checkpoints. And I can go through it only ever looking at the next item on the list to know where I need to go. When I just have a kind of a random list, I constantly have to scan through and read the grocery list every few paces to make sure that I'm not missing anything from my list that I'm currently walking past in the grocery store. So in that way, my list kind of directs my stops, and it means I'm not doubling back and I'm not wasting any time looking for things on my list or in the store. And the last thing I always do when I go to the grocery store is I take my pen along with my list. This is almost exclusively my grocery store pen. It's a Kaweco Lilliput ballpoint pen. I like it because it fits into my pocket alongside my notebook, and therefore I can easily carry it around with me in the store. The reason I think it's important to have the pen with me in the store is so that I can physically scratch off the items on the list. One part of that is that it gives a visual and a physical cue as to what still remains on my list. So it guides me through the grocery store again. There's an easy visual cue telling me I don't need to worry about that item anymore. Whereas if I don't cross the items out, I'm again having to rescan everything thinking, have I put that in the trolley yet or not? And the other part of it is that there is something satisfying about scratching out items on a list. I like finding the satisfaction in kind of the simple and the everyday things, and crossing out an item on a grocery list and eventually having a completely crossed out grocery list is a satisfying thing. It marks the completion of a task, even though it is something as simple and as pedestrian as doing the groceries. Having pen on paper and crossing them out kind of brings you into contact with the task, makes it satisfying to complete the task, and of course gives you another excuse to use pen on paper. And that reminds me a bit of a Jerry Seinfeld bit where he's talking about the difference between a cell phone and a physical landline phone. And hanging up on someone in frustration by slamming a physical phone down is much more satisfying than pressing a hang up button on the cell phone. And it's the same with the pen and paper versus the digital options for lists. Writing out the list on a phone and then just ticking the box or deleting it off the list is not quite the same as having it written down permanently and then scratching it out. There is more closure to it somehow. So once again, the pen and paper and the pocket notebook can elevate something as simple and as humble as the grocery list. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.